Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Before we get started, some housekeeping. This Sunday, we'll be starting the Quran class at ICVA, 6 o'clock. So please attend. It's important that we attend. If we start off really small and people do not attend, then things fall apart. So if you want things to continue, you want people to take out time to teach these classes, keep in mind, whoever's teaching these classes, they're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. They're not getting paid for it. They're not getting any type of, support from it. So we need to make sure that we attend class so that is an encouragement for those who are taking their time out to teach us. So ICVA, 6 o'clock, there'll be class for brothers and sisters as well, separately. We will have our normal dawah activity this Sunday. Try to get there by 3:45 at Monroe Park. As you know, we distribute food and give dawah in the park. Rain or shine, we will be there, inshallah. Next Friday, we do not have access to the school, so as soon as I can get some confirmation, I will try to get class set up at ICVA, but I'm not confirming that now. I will confirm that throughout the week and post that in the group. The following Friday, the 24th, we will not have class. It's the day before a long weekend. We also do not have access to this, and I will be traveling. So we won't have class on the 24th. And for those who play basketball, we do not have basketball the next 2 weeks. Also, one of the Sister Aminallah, who took her shahada last week, her mother has some type of health issue. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for her. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her good health. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our sister amongst those who spends her time and earns reward through serving her mother. And may Allah be pleased with her. Ameen. We are on page 160. We are talking about Hajj, which is the fifth pillar. And as I review every week, what are the 5 pillars of Islam? The 5 pillars, the 5 acts of worship.
Salat.
Okay. First is the Shahada, then? Salat, okay. Fasting. And Hajj. Okay, good. So these are the 5 acts of worship that are obligatory on every Muslim. Our religion is based on these 5 acts of worship. No one can deny any of these acts of worship. These are mandatory and obligatory on everybody. And they're described as pillars because if one pillar of a building or a structure is removed, then the whole building falls apart. Likewise, if you remove one of these pillars of Islam, our Islam is nullified and our religion falls apart. So we talked about the Shahada, we talked about the conditions of the Shahada, we talked about Salat, how to perform Salat and its importance. We talked about fasting and Zakat. Now we're on the 5th pillar, which is Hajj. Hajj is the obligatory pilgrimage as opposed to Umrah, which is the optional pilgrimage. Umrah can be performed at any time during the year. There's no restriction on that. Hajj is only performed in the month of Zulhijjah. There's certain rites and rituals that are attached to Hajj that must be performed for its completion. So there's 2 different types of pilgrimage. Please be able to differentiate between the 2. Hajj is the obligatory pilgrimage, and Umrah is the optional pilgrimage. We talked about the Kaaba a little bit because Hajj is performed where in Mecca, and the Tawaf, which is done around the sacred house of the Kaaba. We talked about that a little bit. That the Kaaba is the name of the black cube-shaped structure, which is inside of the bigger masjid. Um, the Kaaba is also the Qibla, the direction of prayer. So wherever we are, we have on our apps and stuff a direction to pray in. That direction is pointing towards the Kaaba. And one piece of clarity, we do not pray to the Kaaba, we pray towards the Kaaba. The Kaaba is not what we're worshiping, it's just the direction, so that Muslims can be unified to pray in one direction. Otherwise, people would be praying all over the place and there would be no unity. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen the Kaaba to be the direction of prayer so that we can all pray in one direction and that we don't argue over it. Well, I want to pray in this direction or that direction, right? It was the first mosque, the first place of worship that was built by the Prophet Adam. It fell into disrepair and was renovated and rebuilt by Prophet Abraham and Ismail. May peace and blessings be upon them. And Prophet Abraham was the one who proclaimed the pilgrimage for the people. And from that time, people have been making pilgrimage to the Kaaba ever since. And even before the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, even the pagans who worship idols, they still perform the pilgrimage. In that pilgrimage, instead of worshiping Allah, they were also worshiping the idols, which nullified any reward, but the pilgrimage is still there. Okay. So we're on page 160, the meaning of Hajj. Hajj is the religious journey undertaken to the sacred mosque in Mecca and some of the surrounding areas with the intention of performing the pilgrimage rituals. This journey involves a series of activities taught by the Prophet ﷺ, which include, among other things, assuming the ritual condition of purity, which is ihram, walking 7 times around the Kaaba, which is called tawaf, walking 7 times between the mountains, the hills of Safa and Marwa, that is called sa'i, staying in Arafah, which is an area outside of the Kaaba, and throwing pebbles at the stone pillars in Mina. These are some of the rites and rituals, and there are others that are involved in Hajj. And again, a lot of these things are not done in Umrah, only certain things are done in Umrah. Umrah is shortened. Indeed, Hajj provides pilgrims with huge benefits, including, amongst other things, declaration of the oneness of Allah, immense forgiveness, and getting to know one another and learning the rulings of Islam. The Hajj rites are usually performed between the 8th and 13th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the 12th month in the Islamic calendar. All right. Any questions on that part first? Alhamdulillah. Who must perform Hajj? For a Muslim to perform Hajj, he has to be legally accountable for his action, muqallaf, and be able to do so. Legal accountability means that he has to be mature and sane. So who is Hajj obligatory on? Every Muslim who is of the age. It's not obligatory on children, and that they're sane, like they're able to understand the things in the deen. People who have certain mental or learning disabilities would not be obligated to perform Hajj if they cannot do so. Okay, and that's the first part, and these are able to do so. Now, what does the ability to make Hajj mean? Ability here involves the ability to undertake the journey to the sacred mosque through legitimate means and to perform Hajj rites without undergoing unusual strenuous hardship, without risking personal safety and property. That also means that the expense of the pilgrim required for Hajj must be in excess of his needs and the needs of his dependents. So you should be physically able to do so, right? Because it is strenuous and it is hot and there is a lot of walking and things involved. And there's a lot of people. And um, while there are some, Assalamu alaikum. While there are some exceptions, if somebody gets there and they're old or they're sick and they cannot perform certain rites, they can have help for that. Still, they should be healthy enough to at least make the journey there and all of that. And this is why it's not good to delay Hajj. It's just we should strive to do so because we have to do it once in our lifetime. Strive to do so when you're still healthy. Otherwise, when you're old and frail, you don't really get any benefit out of it, and then you may not even be able to go. And who knows if we'll even live to be to those ages. But a lot of people have the misconception. You'll see this, especially, um, yeah. A lot of people have the misconception that you do Hajj at the end of your life, and that's not the right way to think about it. The second is being able to afford it financially, um, and making a plan to do so. It should be something that maybe you have a Hajj fund for in your house, that you're putting aside money every month to put into that so that you have that amount, because it is very expensive. I think the Hajj package is around $9,000 to $10,000, even higher, 12 probably now. It wasn't that expensive 20 years ago, but
Like 13, 14,000 now.
yeah, it depends. I mean, it depends on a lot of
Now that
things.
there's a lottery system, everyone just can't show up.
Yeah, so then you have to register through their site, and if you're chosen and given permission and given a visa, then you can. So I mean, there is, but the point of the matter is, it's something that we should be saving up for, putting aside some money, and have a goal. Because if we don't do that, we'll never get there, right? It's like 12 to 13,000 for the trip. Yeah, pretty much your airfare, your hotels, your travel, everything on the ground, your food, everything's included. And you probably stay there for like 17 days or something like that. Usually other packages. You'll do the Hajj and they'll also take you to Medina. The sacrifice as well, yeah. So it does include everything. So I mean, but again, it should be such that um, that you can afford it. And yeah, and look, it's hardship. I mean, no matter what luxury package you choose, there's hardship. It's hardship. It's crowded, it's hot, it's everything. But uh, but it's something that we need to do, and it's an obligation once in our lifetime. So something we should be saving up for and thinking about and planning for. Maybe if we can't do it this year, but maybe the following year, but at least have a goal and try to work towards that. Um, because if we're not sincerely working towards it, what do we have in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, maybe we weren't able to get to that goal, but at least I tried, rather than somebody who didn't care about it at all, right? So that's what he mentions here: the ability to do so, and the ability to do so safely as well. Um, in the past, people used to travel from all over the world on boats and camels, and you know, walking, and it was much more strenuous as far as hardships in traveling. So, okay, anybody have questions on that so far? All right, moving right along. Do you want to read, brother? Page 161. It's the top of page 161.
So how did the religious journey to the temple to the sacred mosque in Mecca and some of the surrounding areas some of the surrounding are as with the intention of performing the pilgrimage ritual. This journey involves a series of activities taught by the Prophet and the claim, which include, among other things, assuming the condition of ritual purity, walking 7 times around the Kaaba, walking 7 times between the hills of
Safa.
As-Safa, and Al-Marwa. Al-Marwa stayed in the plain of
We're on page 161. You're on the wrong page. Next page. The ability to perform Hajj different circumstances.
So the ability to perform Hajj in person. This ability allows Muslims to undertake the journey to the sacred house without undergoing unusually strenuous hardships while having sufficient means to do so. He must, in this case, perform it in person.
Okay.
The financial ability to authorize someone else to perform Hajj is on one's behalf. This applies to a Muslim who is unable to perform Hajj in person due to illness or old age, but who has the means to authorize someone else to perform it on his behalf. He must, in this case, offer the proxy the necessary expenses to perform it on his behalf. Lack of ability to perform Hajj in person or by proxy. A person who cannot possibly do so is exempt from performing Hajj altogether. To illustrate, a person who does not have expenses in excess of his needs and the needs of the dependents with which he can perform Hajj does not have to perform at all. Nor is he required to raise or collect money in order to perform it. However, he must perform it as soon as he becomes legally and financially able to do so.
Okay, so they're basically kind of summarizing what ability to perform Hajj means. And you can kind of see that flow chart on the right-hand side. That if somebody has the physical and financial means, they should perform Hajj. They must perform their Hajj in person. If somebody has the financial means but not physically able to do so, then they can appoint someone to do so. Now, especially if that illness is something that's permanent. If it's just a temporary illness, they'll be over it, and maybe they can perform it next year, then it's better for them to do so in person. But if it's something that, okay, now they reach an age or they reach a medical condition that, they have the money, but they can't possibly go, then they can appoint somebody to go on their behalf, and they furnish all the expenses. And if you don't have the financial or physical ability to do so, or if you don't have the financial ability at all, then it's not obligatory on you yet. Right? Once you have that amount, then it becomes obligatory on you. All right, next page, 162. Sister Khadija, can you read, please?
A woman needs a mahram as a companion to perform Hajj. For a woman to perform Hajj, she has to be with her husband or any of her male relatives whom she is not permitted to marry because of their close blood relationship, mahram, such as her father, grandfather, sons, grandsons, brothers, nephews, and uncles. However, if a woman performs Hajj without a mahram in such a way that she is not exposed to any danger whatsoever, her Hajj is valid and would certainly suffice. Virtues of Hajj. Performing Hajj has numerous virtues, including the following. 1. It is one of the best deeds in the sight of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ was once asked, "What is the best deed?" He replied, "Belief in Allah and His Messenger." He was then asked, "What's next?" "Fighting in the way of Allah," he replied. He was further asked, What next?" He replied, "Hajj, that is performed correctly and is accepted by Allah." 2. It is a season for great forgiveness. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Whoever performs the pilgrimage for Allah's sake, avoids intimate relations with his wife, does not fight with anyone nor abuse anyone, he will return home free from sins, like the day his mother gave birth to him." SubhanAllah. 3. It provides a great opportunity to be saved from the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ said, "There is no day on which Allah frees people from the fires as He does on the day of Arafah." 4. The reward for it is paradise, as evidenced by the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, "There is no reward for a Hajj that is performed correctly and is accepted by Allah except paradise." However, these and other merits will be enjoyed only by those who perform it solely for the sake of Allah and follow the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ.
So these are some of the. So first, he says that a woman needs a mahram to perform Hajj. Um, and the mahram are those either her husband or other male relatives that she is not permitted to marry, such as sons, father, grandfather, direct uncles, whether they be paternal or maternal uncles, nephews, those close relatives that she's not that are forbidden for marriage can be her mahram, and she can go to Hajj with them. He also mentions here some of the virtues of Hajj, and these are things we should reflect upon, and they should encourage us to want to go. Um, especially the last one there. There is no reward for Hajj that is completed correctly, except by Allah, and is accepted by Allah, except for paradise. Um, so this is something very special, and also that if we perform Hajj, we are forgiven from our sins, like the day we were born. This is another virtue of performing Hajj. So this should encourage us. We should read these, and it should be a motivation for us to want to perform Hajj. I noticed that while the author here talks about Hajj, he really doesn't go into a lot of detail. So I just wanted to add a little bit of detail that he doesn't go over here. Um, you'll see that when pilgrims are performing Hajj, they'll be dressed in two white sheets. This is called ihram. Ihram is the state of ritual purity that you enter in when you perform Hajj or Umrah. And there are many conditions of ihram. Basically, while a person is ihram, they do not put on any perfume, any scent. They stay in those clothes. Um, they and there's certain restrictions as far as what they can wear, right? Um, Even if their shoes, they should have open shoes, like slippers or something like that, almost. And they're not allowed to, in the state of haram, you do not have any sexual relations or anything like that, because these would violate the state of haram. You also do not cut your hair or your nails. So these are just from, huh? Do not, no, not while in a haram, and that only lasts for a few days. Um, Women do not obviously wear the white sheets; they just wear whatever clothes, but also they do not cut their hair or nails or anything like that. Um, and then once certain rituals of Hajj are performed, then you're allowed to take the ihram off, change into regular clothes, put on any perfume, or cut your nails and hair. Then that's permissible. So I just want to explain that aspect, because visually you'll see, okay, why are people dressed this way?
Isn't that part where they like men shave their heads or no?
Yeah. So after, and he really doesn't get into the steps of Hajj, and maybe the next book that we'll cover will go into that. But there's certain steps of Hajj, and if you performed up to a certain amount of it, then you shave your head or cut your hair um, on that day. Once you've performed certain aspects of Hajj, then when the ihram is released, then you shave your head. Most people will shave their head. Some people cut it. They're both permissible. There's more reward in shaving it.
Um,
For men, women don't shave their heads.
um, when you're in the state of,
Ihram.
yeah, do you, when you go back at night to your hotel, you can take it off and shower and this and stuff, right?
You can shower, but you still have to put that back on.
Okay.
Yeah, and even when you shower, you don't use scented perfume. You use unscented soap. Sorry, so you don't use any scented soap, like.
So then when you get out of the shower, you put this back on.
Yes, yes.
What, the same one?
I guess what we're asking is, are you changing clothes? Are you changing?
Are you
to a fresh
changing?
one?
Yeah, I don't know. It's escaping me right now.
What do you want for her to do?
I don't remember. That was 20 years ago.
Right. You have a
Obvious.
Right.
I'll look at it. I don't want to give the wrong answer. I'll look at it. You may be right in that, but I'll look at it.
Women don't have to shave their hair, but they do have to cut their hair.
They do have to cut a little bit off of it. Okay. All right, we'll move forward. Any questions? Any other questions so far?
Yes. Is there a fatwa in regards to this thing about, however, if a woman performs Hajj without her mahram in such a way that she's not exposed to any danger whatsoever, her Hajj is valid? Is there because
There are some scholars who say that it's permissible if she's going with like a group, and she's safe, because obviously right now your travel isn't like what it was when you were going on camelback from hundreds of miles, right? Now you're getting in a plane and getting off a plane, and it's travel is still travel. It's still there's still challenges, but the safety concerns are not the same. So some of the scholars do allow that if a woman is, especially if she's older and mature, and she doesn't see any way of, okay, next year she's going to have a mahram. Maybe somebody doesn't have a husband and doesn't have male relatives. Okay, what does she do? She has the money. Then if there's a group and she's safe in that group and there's other women in that group and they're trustworthy, then they allow it. But
because I'm sure this question comes up for a lot of reverts who are
Yes.
the only Muslim in their family,
right.
and who do we take with us?
Right. Yeah. Right. So, yeah, it does come up. So that's the exception that's made as long as it's with a group that's trustworthy and she's safe. Um, yeah. Yeah. A reliable group. It's not like, something like where she's putting herself in harm as well. So, what other questions so far? Good? All right. 163.
They don't know the steps. Okay, that's fine. Like, important daily routine.
You want me to read?
There's a question. Do you sleep in the ihram? Yes. Yes.
And the women would sleep in their white abayas.
I don't know that they're required to wear white.
Yeah, I see, but
I don't know that they're required to wear white.
they have their black ones.
Yeah, they're allowed to wear whatever colors.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah. Women are not required to wear white.
Oh, okay.
But also, well, again, but the clothes should be humble. They shouldn't be like flashy. They shouldn't be like, you're not there as a party. And the reason for this, for everybody, especially the men, to all wear one clothes, is no matter if you're a billionaire or no matter if somebody who scrapped up money, you are a laborer, you scrapped up money, you're really poor, but you just did it. Everybody's equal on that day. And so show that brotherhood and show that equality. So that's why even for women, while they're given some leeway, obviously, in what they can wear, it shouldn't be flashy. It shouldn't be showing off. It should be plain. Okay. Yes. 163. Brother Noble.
163. Perfect. Ultimate goals of Hajj. Hajj has numerous goals and objectives. After instructing pilgrims about what to do regarding the sacrificial animal they have to slaughter to seek closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, their flesh and blood does not reach Allah. It is your piety that reaches him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, in this connection, going around the Kaaba, running between the hills of As-Safa and Al-Marwa.
Marwa. The Safa and Marwa are the two mountains, hills, which are right near the Kaaba. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions them in the Quran, in the Safa wal Marwata min sha'air Allah, that verily the mountains of Safa and Marwa are the signs of Allah. And these were the two mountains where when Abraham left his wife Hajra and she had Ismail as a baby, she ran between these two mountains 7 times to see if she could find some water. So we would run on top of one mountain and look, is there anybody coming with water? Can I see water anywhere? She wasn't able to find it. And then after that, the angel Gabriel came and he opened the well of Zamzam. The well of Zamzam still exists today. It has an infinite water supply. It doesn't run dry, and its water is very pure and has a lot of nutrients. And if anybody has drank this water, is it's full of nutrition and has even like a different. You feel different after drinking it. Yeah,
They have a big bottle in some places, right? They sell it in bottles.
yeah, they sell it in Petra and stuff.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
We get some here?
Hmm?
We get some here?
I'll get you some. I'll hook it up for everybody who's in class today. I'll get them a bottle of Zamzam, inshallah ta'ala. And it's also recommended that when you drink Zamzam water, you make dua. Any supplication that you need from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can make it at that time. So that's why the rites and rituals of Hajj are based on the actions or copying the actions of the Prophet Abraham, his wife Hajar, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So, we get the Hajj from their actions, from their devotion, and it's a way to connect us to them by copying their action and reflect upon what they did, the sacrifices they made, and their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that encourages us to build a similar relationship. Yes, go ahead.
And the stoning of the pillars are only meant for the remembrance of Allah.
Right.
So these goals and objectives include the following: a demonstration of total submission and humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is realized when pilgrims forsake all forms of luxury and adornment and wear simple, seamless garments, and for assuming the condition of ritual purity, showing their total need and dependence on the Lord and ridding themselves of all worldly concerns and pursuits, that they may otherwise distract them from the demonstrating total devotion to Him, which is bound to invite His mercy and forgiveness. This demonstration of total submission becomes all the more vivid on the day of Arafah, when they stand before their Lord in a state of awe and reverence, giving thanks to Him for His countless blessings and seeking His forgiveness for their slips and failures.
Arafah is, we mentioned this is a place, it's a little bit away from the Kaaba, still in Mecca, and that is the most important ritual of Hajj, that on the 9th of Zulhijjah, the people, all the pilgrims go there and they must stay there for some time. And you stay there and you make dua, and this is the day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the most people and saves the most people from the hellfire. And this is an important, if somebody does not attend Arafah, then they didn't make Hajj. So this is the most important pillar of Hajj. And I'm just kind of defining, can give you a little bit of context as to what each of these words mean, so you don't get confused later on. And inshallah, given the opportunity, if we If we get to another book, we'll go into a little bit more detail. Number 2.
A demonstration of gratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Gratefulness to Allah for performing Hajj is shown for both the money and good health Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided, which are among the greatest worldly blessings Allah has bestowed on man. When a Muslim performs Hajj, he demonstrates gratefulness to Allah for these two blessings by undergoing great physical hardships and spending his money to seek closeness to Allah in total obedience to Him. Showing gratefulness is a duty that is not only established and affirmed by reasoning, but also ordained by divine law.
Okay. Next, number 3.
The wholesome demonstrations of the University of Islam. Muslims from the four corners of the world gather in the Holy Land in response to the call of Allah. They get to know one another, and the barriers of race, color, language, and social class are set aside in this fraternity of faith that unites all Muslims in the largest annual field gathering in which they help one another in furthering virtue and God consciousness.
Okay.
Number 4, it is a reminder of the Day of Judgment. Hajj reminds those who perform it of the Day of Resurrection, when all human beings will stand equal before Allah for the final judgment. When pilgrims stand in the plain of Arafah, after assuming a state of ritual purity by replacing their ordinary clothes with simple garments and expressing their readiness to serve Allah and perceive the countless magnitudes of pilgrims, all dressed in what looks like shrouds. This will open their eyes to what they will go through after death and will prompt them to strive harder in preparation for the hereafter.
Right. So this is a reminder of the Day of Judgment. Even the clothes for ihram, you're putting 2 white sheets, the same, similar white sheets as what you're going to put in the ground. So it's, it's a reminder of the Day of Judgment, how we all stand gathered in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's awe-inspiring because there's so many people. There's millions of people. And I had the opportunity when I went that I was, there's one place where you stay, it's called Muzdalifah, and you spend the night there. And I was all the way at the back where there was some hills, some mountains. So I was able to climb up and just see just people, like as far as you can see. And it was awe-inspiring that that there's so many people have taken their time out and they're gathered in front of Allah to worship Him. And it's, like I said, it's a reminder of the Day of Judgment that we will all be standing in front of Allah. So we have to start thinking like, okay, in what state are we going to be standing in front of Allah with our deeds? And what those deeds are going to be looking like, right? So, all right, let's finish this, inshallah.
Number 5, it is a demonstration of true worship of Allah alone. This is realized through the pilgrim's recitation of the Tabiyah.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
Here I am at your service, O Allah. Here I am at your service. You have no partners. Yours alone is all praise and all bounty, and yours alone is the sovereign. You have no partners. Describing the Tabiyah, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, one of the Prophet's companions once referred to them as the words of pure monotheism. Indeed, pure monotheism is apparent in all Hajj rites, words, and deeds without exception.
Right. So, again, it's a demonstration of the true worship of Allah alone. We're reminded time and time again, even in the talbiyah, we're saying that Allah, we're here at your service, that all we're doing is for the sake of Allah. We don't do Hajj for anybody else, right? We do it for the sake of Allah. And this is why it's important that if you're able to go for Hajj and Umrah, to keep mindfulness of your sincerity, and mindfulness of making it just for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of people get caught up in taking Hajj selfies and selfies in front of the Kaaba and showing off their deeds. Um, and doing so will, you know, take away from the goodness of those deeds because then it becomes showing off. You're just getting likes on social media. Well, there's your reward. We'd rather have the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than, a bunch of likes on social media. And this is just a reminder for myself and everybody else that, keep focus on your sincerity. Every good deed or everything you do doesn't need to go on social media for everybody else to praise. Because if you get praise here and you're happy about that, then that's your reward. That's it. That's it. You won't get reward on the day of judgment after that.
Isn't it recommended that we do like charitable acts and good deeds if we can anonymously, like quietly, like not seeking? Is the reward greater for us if we do it anonymously?
There's a hadith. I gave a khutbah on this one time, but I don't think any of you were there. That there'll be 7 people who will be given shade on the day of judgment, on the day where there's no shade except for the shade of Allah. And out of those 7 people, one of them is the person who gives charity so secretly that his left hand doesn't know what his right hand is given. This is an allegory that means that he does it so secretly that nobody knows about it. He just does his good deed and is done with it. He doesn't talk about it. Nobody knows about it. He didn't post it on social media. He just does what he needs to do, and he does it out of sincerity. There is, you can do acts in public if you're looking to encourage other people, but man, just keep some stuff for yourself in Allah. You don't have to post on social media, hey, team tahajjud, who's up now? Showing that you're up. That's, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from these types of things, because it's really gotten to the point where people are just posting everything and just losing their rewards and benefits from it. May Allah protect us. One of the sisters asked, it's a good question, and we'll discuss it also when we discuss Dhul Hijjah and Eid al-Adha, that those who do not perform Hajj, we can fast on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, which is the day of Arafah, the day where the pilgrims gather in Arafah and make dua, like I mentioned before. We fast on that day, and the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, said that fasting on the day of Arafah is like expiation for 2 years of sins, the year before and the year after. Expiation meaning that your sins would be forgiven if you've done so sincerely and it's accepted by Allah.
For the word of honor, it says that a person who performs Hajj and Umrah must walk 7 times through the Hills of Safa and Marwa. I was expecting them to be like in the desert.
No, well, I mean, at a time, yes, they were in the desert, but now they've made like structures so that walkways so that people can do so, the air conditioner and everything, so people can do so easily. Otherwise, back in the day, it was just, back in the day, you were going in the desert.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, they did a lot of renovations and have made it a lot easier. There's conveyor belts too for those who are like in wheelchairs, so they just move them right along. They have their own.
How long ago?
It's a decent. Yeah, it's like moving sidewalk. But those are only for people who are like on wheelchairs and stuff. Yeah.
But is there still the hills that you have to like go?
You go up them slightly because now the way they've built it, it's not really that much of a climb. It is an incline, but it's not like difficult. Like back in the days, because back in the day you would be going from the base of it, and now they've built it up, so it's not as difficult as it was. No, it's just like you're just walking up. Any other questions?
I have one question.
All right. If we don't have, you have a question?
For the 7 times.
Total is 2.2 miles, right? Okay.
Why 7? Is that like completion? Why 7 times?
Well, there had to be a finite number, right? There had to be some number. And it just seems that 7 is the number that was we walk around the Kaaba at 7 times. When we walk between Safa and Marwa at 7 times, and 7 times was the number of times that she ran between the two hills before the well of Zamzam was dug. So, and a lot of times people ask questions, well, why do we, um, go counterclockwise around the Kaaba, not the other way? Well, it had to be either one. I mean, we can't just leave it up to people, like everybody's going in a different direction, right? Or everybody's doing a different number of things. So, these things are set so that it's easier on us. So there's no discord and there's unity in it. Any other questions? All right. Why didn't she run? Why didn't she run between 7? Yes, she did.